Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Sir, we are live, sir. You can start the session.
Okay, so welcome to this live session on infrastructure economics. So we are also here with Professor Mukul Ashar. May I request Aditi Singh to just introduce Professor Mukul Ashar? Aditi?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes. Good afternoon, sir. Professor Ashar. Sir, your microphone is muted.
Okay. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. So, Professor Mukul G. Ashar obtained PhD in economics from Washington State University in 1972. He was a faculty member with the Department of Economics and later with the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy at the National University of Singapore for over 4 decades, stepping down in June 2018. He has been a visiting faculty at the Asian Public Policy Program at Hitotsubashi University in Tokyo since the early 2000s. He is associated with several Indian think tanks such as the Research and Information System for Developing Countries in New Delhi, where he is a senior adjunct fellow. He is on the editorial board of several journals, including IMB Management Review. His research focuses on public finance management, pension reform, and on expanding India's geoeconomic and geostrategic space. He has published extensively in national and international journals and has authored or edited more than 16 books, including an e-book on economic reasoning and public policies, case studies from India. He has been a consultant or advisor to several governments in Asia and to multilateral organizations and think tanks. We warmly welcome you, sir, and the podium is yours. Hopefully, we get enlightened by all your zeal. With a lot of zeal, we are awaiting it. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Ashar, for accepting our quick invitation to join this live session. In fact, this is also the first live session with almost 1,000 students have joined this course as a part of the NPTEL program on infrastructure economics. So out of 1,000 students, around 330 students have decided to write the exams. So then, yeah, so then I have decided to at least have a live session with these students. So probably questions will be in 2 categories. One related to directly with the policy aspect, because government has recently announced PM Gati Shakti Yojana and other schemes for infrastructure development. And the economic survey of 2021-22, it also discussed about the social infrastructure and the industry and infrastructure. There are 2 separate chapters. So the course becomes very relevant with the new schemes and the India's new move towards looking a very different infrastructure projects. So now I would like to invite some of the questions from the student. A student can write in the chat box, or a student can have their live questions unmuting their microphone. So one by one, we can take up some of the questions. So anyone can start asking the question after unmuting yourself.
सर कुछ एक्स्ट्रा पूछ सकते हैं सर?
Yes, yes,
Sir,
related to infrastructure, yes.
एडमिट कार्ड कब तक मिलेगा सर एग्जाम के लिए, उसके बारे में
So,
सर जानना।
all such technical questions, I think NPTEL people will answer you. But if you can ask the question related to the infrastructure course or our different topics which we have covered, that this session is only dedicated for such questions. Varun, I think Abhinav Maurya has written about what are your views on PM Gati Shakti Yojana, how it is going to change India.
पहले आप सबको प्रणाम और नमस्कार. Thank you for inviting me. One of the advantages of being an academic is that while I get older and older, the audiences that I interact with remain about the same age. So that keeps me young and also lets me understand what the new generation is thinking. So the first question is very, very relevant. Now, what are we talking about when we say Gati Shakti? If you divide that word, Gati मायने क्या? Speed, right? गति कितनी है? Speed. और शक्ति, power. So speed का power, that explains Gati Shakti. And what is that speed ka power? Is that over the years, we have been used to listening, not always unreasonably or unjustifiably, that this particular infrastructure policy or program or aviation sector development, blue economy, port development, these are all fine, but either they don't get implemented well on the ground, or that there are large time and cost overruns. Anybody that has worked with the governments, as I have in many countries, understands that in government, the consciousness about time and about cost, true cost, economic cost, is something that needs to be improved. What the Gati Shakti does is to bring together a large number of departments, the ministries, that are actually implementing a project and uses technology to try to speed the projects up, to provide the data, which is called a feedback loop, which can be used to make improvements on an ongoing basis. So what the success of Gati Shakti, if any of you research on it, is take some projects that we are doing, whether it is Namami Ganga project, whether it is a Ganga Expressway, Purvanchal Expressway, others, and study as to what is the time and cost performance of these projects. Recently, Minister Nitin Gadkari said that they are thinking of achieving 50 kilometers a day of highway construction. Now, 50 kilometers a day at the time when before it was 3, 5, 15. And now our vision is that we want to be among the world's best in having sound, good infrastructure, but without the unnecessary cost and time overruns. So that's what, in short, Gati Shakti is trying to do, and it plugs a very important gap. So 5 years from now, we hope we will be saying less and less that this is a good policy, good program, good infrastructure project, but it is not implemented. Anybody, any other question? I hope that answers the question. Please give
Yeah.
come back if you have supplementary things to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, Abhinav has the supplementary question that, sir, why don't we focus on making expressway like China?
Uh, each country is different, and each country has different priorities. China has very deep pockets where economic rate of return is not very significant in infrastructure projects. So they got millions of apartment buildings that are lying vacant. They got a lot of highways and others that have very low traffic and low economic value. Unlike them, we are starting late and trying to do a catch up. But our resources are constrained because our per capita income at over 2,000 USD is about 1/4 or 30% around of China. So we have to be a lot more careful to be economical and choose our projects well. So economic rate of return on our infrastructure project is vital. And we are making the the kind of infrastructure that is suited to the country's needs and to its future.
And just to add some more points on Professor Asar's argument on the infrastructure Gati Shakti project. This is a multi-modal connectivity project that is PM Gati Shakti Yojana, and that is connecting around 16 ministries and based on 6 pillars. And these 6 pillars is a comprehensive comprehensiveness in terms of the project, prioritization, optimization, synchronization, analytical, and dynamic. So this is the first time when GIS platforms are being created to visualize and to review and to monitor the growth of the project. So that is the target which government is setting to see what is happening in which district and which area from the GIS platforms. So that shows how serious the government is really having the approach in terms of focusing on the different types of infrastructure and completing it. So, sir, we have another question from Barun Kumar, that what are your views on recent transfer of ownership of Air India to Tata? So this is related to privatization of Air India to Tata.
With your permission, if I provide some context about privatization in answering that question. Air India was a private company owned by Tatas until 1956. Until about the 60s, even after nationalization, in 1956, Air India was among the top 5 global airlines in the world. I've had the good fortune of flying Air India in 1963 when I went for my education from Mumbai to USA. And I flew Air India. The great service, great airline. But in analytically, for any government organization or any even private organization, but let's take government organization, they need to do 4 things if they want to continue to be relevant, to be efficient, and to be profitable. The first is that there has to be some competition and contestability. For Air India, that competition, contestability didn't really come for quite a long time. Only when the jet and others came in the 90s and so on. So Air India had a good monopoly situation domestically. But its share in international travel was declining because the foreign airlines were taking up the slack. Second, you need organizational incentives. If I'm running an organization where the budget deficit in my organization is made up by the government without questions asked, then I have no incentive to improve my organization. Air India got captured by the bureaucrats, by the politicians, by their employees. And I've seen Air India being abused by their employees when I travel very frequently by Air India and I saw what they were doing. Some of the things were not savory. Hardeep Singh Puri, the minister, he is quoted as saying that I had no heart to go to Nirmala or FM. Please give me 8,000 crores. Please give me 10,000 crores so that Air India can remain in the air for a while more. And I had no heart. So the question was that either I close down, that's what the minister said, or I privatize. So that, we had reached that soft budget constraint, even in our personal life. If whatever we spend, our parents are overindulgent, keep us giving money, we are not very efficient, right? We don't acquire the kind of skills needed. Third, individual incentives. A lot of the recruitment and the chairman of Air India, the board of directors, they didn't have any airline experience. They were just recruited in a normal way, you just bring them in. Some of the pilots of Air India are great, and they've shown so many heroics, so many others. On an individual basis, a lot of good people in Air India, but as an organization system, very weak. So individual incentives were weak because merit was not rewarded. Remember, wherever merit is not rewarded, your organization can't function well. And finally, technological adaptation. So you have to adapt to new technologies, new ways as they come. If you don't do that, these 4 in a nice combination with a requisite political economy to support reforms, then the organization languishes. That's what happened with Air India. Now, government has taken over very large amount of liabilities of Air India and Tatas have bought it at a certain price. Let us hope that Air India now competes in the global market as well as in the domestic market in a much more profitable and better way than what it was under the public sector. It's not the ownership issue. You know, if you take some of the world's most efficient companies, they are public sector owned companies. For example, how many of you know that DHL, courier company, it is owned by German post office, by Deutsche Post. The post office owning a world-class, company or a courier company, and that's because they do all these four things that I indicated well. Uh, the moment they stop doing that well, they will decline. So don't look at ownership. Economic theory doesn't talk about ownership. There is no separate textbook for theory of public sector firm, theory of private sector firm. There's only theory of firm, and there's only one economic set of principles that apply to both of them. So these are four things Air India didn't do well. India's political economy was not conducive for them doing well. So only thing was closed down or sell it off. And that's what they did.
So, Barun's supplementary question is about, is privatization of government sectors will really help our country in long run? So,
Sorry? Can you
is
say it again?
Is privatization of public sector will really help our country in the long run? That is the question, supplementary question of Barun.
Okay. You know, all these debates about public and private sectors is very ideological. But today, there are many different ways you can organize a company. So the ordnance factories, for example, when India became independent, India's ordnance factories were at a fairly good global competitive level. But again, like Air India, those four things not done, they deteriorate. So what we have done now is to turn our ordnance factories into corporates, into a corporate entity. That's not privatization. It is, the better word is marketization. You need to understand markets and you need to have customers. So PM Modi has said one, two out of these seven should become global players. So ordnance factory should produce goods which are demanded in the global market. So when you do MBA, what is the first thing that a marketing professor will teach? In PhD, my minor was marketing. So I was fortunate to have very good marketing professors. And the marketing professor would tell us, the first thing you need is customers. You can produce an excellent product, can produce everything, but if nobody wants to buy it, you got to produce what people demand. And this is where we are changing in a very complex way. Lot of, this private, binary, private, not public, has no relevance anymore. Why? In the new era technology and the new ways of organizational structures have changed all this. Take LIC now. LIC will be listed, but how much of it is going to be listed? Maybe between 5 and 10%. Okay? And the market capitalization of that will be estimated, according to reports, around 70 billion USD. So what was happening before? LIC, in spite of everything, has got a great brand name. It has got recognition. People trust LIC and so on. And what was happening was LIC was doing joint ventures in the Middle East, in life insurance, in other areas, and so on. So the Middle East, the investors were getting the brand value of LIC, but the Indian public was not getting brand value of LIC until now that it is listed. The Indian public can now participate and benefit. But that is not privatization. That is the word, you have to use your words extremely carefully in economic reasoning. It is called divestment. You are divesting some part of your equity, so you are rationalizing your portfolio. Just like in investment, we have got a lot of stocks, we have a portfolio, some are not doing well, so usko bech do aur dusre naye le lo. So this is what we are doing now. The LIC money that will come to the government will be used for better use, and there will be much more regulation, others of the LIC. For the first time, LIC will have to publish its balance sheet. Nobody has seen LIC's balance sheet, and nobody can understand it, even if they were to publish. They have been very opaque. So these are very small, but subtle things that we are changing. And to call it, privatization, this whole mindset, private bad, public good, is as false as public bad, private good. You need balance, you need those four things. We have to try and we have to go. So don't think ideologically, think technocratically. This is one thing that PM is teaching us again and again about the use of technology, new ways of doing things. So look at it technocratically, not ideologically. Sorry, it's a bit long-winded answer, but let me know if you have any more.
So we have two more questions in the chat box. So this is really very beneficial for them that you have joined this session, because there are many questions directly linked with your extensive research and extensive contribution to these sectors. So the next question is again on, sir, can India achieve $5 trillion economy in next 10 years?
India will achieve, okay, let's just do some arithmetic. Okay. Now, what is India's nominal GDP by 2022-23? So by March 2023, we have an economic survey out, right? And we have got some estimates. Our GDP will be 235 trillion INR, Indian rupees. Now, let's say 5 trillion. And let's assume that rupee will depreciate a little bit, so that rupee today is 75 around, and it will go to 80. Let's just assume. So 80 times 5 is 400. So what we need to do is to go from 235 at the end of 22-23 to 400 to get to 5 trillion. Okay, now let's go back and understand the compound interest formula. India's nominal GDP is growing around 13%. because we got about 5% inflation. Even if we take conservatively 7% real GDP growth, even now the estimate is 7.9%. Inflation is 5.5. So we're talking about between 12 and 14 that we will grow in nominal terms. Now, if any entity is growing at 12%, let's say, take very conservative, in how many years will that entity double with compound interest? What's the compound interest formula? Don't need formula, there is a rule of thumb. What is the rule of thumb? The rule of thumb is that you take 72 divided by the growth rate. So if I take 72 divided by 12, in how many years my GDP will double? How many years? Anybody wants to speak? 6 years. Very good. So if I'm at 235 by March 23, will I reach close to 400 in 6 years if it at 12? But what if it is at 14? Then I will reach by 27, 28. So 10 years is too long a time. Actually, the vision is that we want to be a 10 trillion USD economy by the middle of next decade, by 2035. So it is definite within the usual assumptions, probability, no World War III, no catastrophes, and so on. We are on the way towards 5 trillion USD, definitely before end of this decade. You have to do the arithmetic and always trust good numbers and analysis. Don't discuss things in abstract. Does it answer? Who asked me that question? Does that answer it?
Abhinav has asked this question. Abhinav, hope you got the point now. Yes, he's saying yes. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, Abhinav.
So one question is on by Barun is about what is your views about the collapse of Bharat Sanchar Nigam Limited, BSNL?
This is again a very, very important case study that should be done as a PhD topic by somebody. It cannot be answered in 1, 2 minutes, 3 minutes like that, because there has been a very complex set of situations for the BSNL. But again, we have to ask, was BSNL given for a long time a non-competitive environment? Okay. When did the current telcos come in? Relatively recent. BSNL has been there for a long time. What's its organizational structure, its leadership? Does it have a soft budget constraint where government makes up the budget deficit? Has it kept up with technology? And in addition, political economy factors have kept BSNL weak, just the way the Air India, some of the best parts were made very weak by the civil aviation ministers and in our negotiations with the airlines in the Middle East. One of the very significant comments that Mr. Ratan Tata made after Air India, that one thing we are going to do is to have a direct flights and not like before where you had to go through the Middle East airlines, and that increased cost, reduce competitiveness, and so on. So we had given away a lot of our rights, air rights, um, without tough negotiations. I'll just leave it at that and let you surmise the rest. Um, and the so BSNL also, there were people who wanted to keep it on. It had become a capture of certain interest groups. They didn't want it to really grow. So the situation has been very complex. We have to see whether if BSNL is infused with these four things that I have talked about, whether it can revive. Again, BSNL has some excellent people. Where did Reliance and others get their people from? From the public sector. A lot of the talent is in the public sector. But the talent needs the right organizational environment and technology and incentive structures to deliver results. Individuals are very competent, but the whole system doesn't allow these excellent individuals, some of them, to achieve the results that are expected of them. Again, to go back to history, the idea of public sector organization was quite popularized by John Maynard Keynes in Depression and when he wrote the General Theory in 1936. What was Keynes's view? Keynes was saying that we suffer from lack of aggregate demand, consumption is weak, and correspondingly savings is not going to be sufficient to maintain aggregate demand. So we need public sector organizations to undertake to be able to be large savers and contributors to the gross domestic saving of the country. That has not worked out that way. India public sector savings have been declining. They are very small. They cannot. In India, what we have to thank for our reasonably high rate of savings are the Indian housewives. They manage household finances in such a way that our household savings are high. Our public sector savings are not high. Corporate savings are not that high. The household saving that brings us towards 30% of GDP as household saving around 22, 23%. Now, of course, some of the culture is changing. The idea that you save, when I was young, my father would teach me, my father was a finance broker. So at the age of 5, I would go with my father to the banks. As a finance broker, get to go to various banks in Mumbai every day. I'll go with him. And in conversation, he would tell me, remember, when you can afford to buy 2 things, you buy one. Now it is the reverse, right? Because of the credit, because of others. So we need that culture also that allows us to save, and our households, particularly housewives, they have an excellent culture uh, that has allowed us to do our saving. So the Keynes' idea that somehow public sector enterprises are needed to increase savings, as history has not shown empirically to be, that was too optimistic. Sorry, I'm digressing a little bit.
Yeah, so we have one more question in the chat box, but before that, I am again requesting other student that if you have any other question, you can write in the chat box so that Professor Mukul can have a 1 or 2 minute break, and then we can again take up some of the questions. So if anybody has any question, please write down in the chat box.
What is the question? I'm okay.
Yeah. So one question is, yeah, Meghna, you want to ask the question?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Um, thank you, sir. Sir, actually, I am not from a background of economics. I have studied infrastructure law for my LLM, and I have done my on the for housing policy.
Your voice is breaking. I'm
Meghna,
sorry.
your voice is breaking.
Is that clear now, sir?
Yeah, now it is clear. If you can speak slowly, probably it will reach to us.
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, I did my LLM in infrastructure law. I'm from no background, not from economics, but with all the interest, I have taken this infrastructure economics paper from Swayam PTEL. And I want to know about social infrastructure, whether it is actually growing in India, and without the growth of social infrastructure, can the country be considered as developed?
Yeah, so I will, Professor Asar, if I can read out the question which he wrote in the chat box.
Okay.
So the question he is asking is how far social infrastructure is growing in India, and without proper social infrastructure, can a state be actually considered as developed? So that is our question.
Again, just let me digress 1 second. That I think we shouldn't get hung up. Sorry, I don't know whether that hung up is still the word that your generation uses. But when we were young, don't get hung up was a very common thing to say. And the don't get hung up on terms, developed, underdeveloped. These are colonial constructs, and get away from it. So is so-called development economics is a colonial construct. Let's not get into it. Let's just say whether without social infrastructure, which is of good quality, accessible, affordable, whether India can achieve its ambition of improving the household welfare. The answer is no. Because we have physical infrastructure, and the law of diminishing returns is applicable there also. If you have too many roads and you keep on building it, the economic return will be low. So you have to find areas where there is scarcity, where supply is in shortage as compared to current and anticipated demand, and so on, and you meet it. Now, social infrastructure, what does it mean? It means a lot of things. It's a very big area. One is usually health, education, water, waste management, community safety. We have been following UP election currently. you could see that community safety was an important issue. That's social infrastructure. Police. You have police, you have lighting, you have justice that is needed. And now with the UP election, new word has come in. You have the right type of bulldozer. Why? Community safety and the sense of justice. So there are many, and there are some intangible dimensions. Trust is extremely important. But legal, do we need to continue with the current judicial system, or does the judicial system needs fundamental reform? Okay? That's you are a law student. I recently had given 3 lectures on law and economics and the need for judicial reform. So now in each of these areas, we need to work. In education, we have new economic policy. There are different ways that we are trying to improve skills now. The drone technology, for example, is opening up jobs opportunities for, you don't have to be college graduate to become a drone operator. You can get your license with certain minimal training, and it pays well. So livelihoods can be generated in different ways. Health, we have done a lot. Our record in COVID, how many countries at our income level or even higher income level has had 2 successful vaccines? Imagine what would have happened to us if we didn't have our own vaccine. How vulnerable India would have been to Pfizer's and others. And we were not. Thanks to, so we are improving health infrastructure with Ayushman Bharat, others, and so on. We are improving now the education system, different ways. I just read a headline that UGC has said you don't need a PhD to teach. Now, that was required, PhD was a requirement. There are many industry people, many professional people who didn't have PhD. Now they can teach. We are expanding online. We are education. We are expanding like this. That was not there before. And then we have Namami Ganga, Gar Jal, the water initiatives, and we have the initiatives in other areas of police reforms, community safety, now the judicial reform. So yeah, we need to talk as much about social infrastructure as we talk about physical infrastructure, but the physical infrastructure usually has gotten priority. I mean, let's face it. But you are right that unless you do social, your society is incomplete. Does it answer your question?
Yes, sir.
So
Okay.
we have, two more questions. One question is on, sir, India holds most of the gold in the world. What is its effect on the economy? And second question is on what will be the effect of the war of Russia and Ukraine into our economy? So there are 2 different questions in 2 different directions.
Both excellent questions and very pertinent question. Okay, let me take the gold question first. I don't know whether India is the largest gold because the private gold estimates are very hard to make. In India, gold is of different types. One is the gold that is in official reserves by RBI and with the IMF, the SDRs, special drawing rights, and so on. That is one part, but a smaller part, because in India, we have had a long tradition of Stri Dhan. I hope everybody understands the Hindi part. Stri Dhan, what is it? That in our law, Stri Dhan belongs to the women. Women didn't have equal rights in property inheritance and all that till very recently. But Stri Dhan, it is women's property. And the issue that we have now is how do we now notice what gold do you any you buy a bond, buy RBI bond, every year you get interest. Gold, you don't. Instead, for gold to keep it, you have to pay because you have to go and get a bank locker, or you have to have a security to do that. So the question then is, okay, is there something we can monetize? We are monetizing a lot of things. Can we monetize our gold stock? Mainly private gold stock that we have. Now we are trying. You will see that this year, sometime, Prime Minister is going to inaugurate a gold trading exchange at Gift City in Gandhinagar. I'm told that everything is ready, structure is there, just waiting for PM's time that he can give to inaugurate it, and we'll have gold trading started. So we can do gold trading. We can do other things, but the good part of our gold stock is that it is private. A lot of it is not known because a lot of it is Stri Dhan. And in my view, it should remain like that. And if some of the private households want to monetize it by some of the gold schemes of the government have had only marginal impact, but by gold trading others, that is fine. But again, we should regard gold as one of the many assets that we should have in our portfolio. But my personal opinion, in any investment portfolio of a household, gold should not be more than 5% at the outside of the total portfolio. Keep it that. So it's not do others have financial assets, real estate, and so on. Gold is just a small part of the portfolio, and that is fine because gold has its uses, but it doesn't yield much. Most of the time, it has not yielded much return. Okay, does that answer your question?
Abhinav, hope you got the answer now. So I think we have this last question. Is there any other question, Barun, and other people?
No,
Thank
sir.
you, Abhinav.
So I think this will be the last question, Varun. Or the group members are having any other question, please let me know. So accordingly, we have to finish the session. So if there isn't any other question, then the last question for this session is, what will be the effect of war of Russia and Ukraine into our economy?
the war is not between Russia and Ukraine, in my view, but between NATO. NATO has been expanding since 1990. Russia has been saying, please don't come to our door, and so on. This was sort of inevitable that a conflict will occur. We don't know what the contours will be. What, but we are being on the net basis harmed a lot by this war. One is the energy price, energy uncertainty of the supply, and already every $10 increase in crude is going to mean that our balance of payments deficit, current account deficit, will go up significantly. I just looked up the price today, somewhere around 108, 109. It had gone to 130. Hopefully it will come down to 80, 85. That is manageable for us. But the earlier it comes, better. The second thing where we are negatively impacted is on the supply chain. So, and the commodity prices. Because India is a net importer, significant net importer of minerals and metals. Now, minerals and metals are very important for us because in our renewables, we found electric vehicles, minerals and metals are critical, which we don't produce. So we got to find investments in there. The price is going to go up. The raw material prices will go up. And so we have to do some adjustments in there as well. The third area concerns the agricultural prices and inflation. Ukraine is a major supplier of wheat and others in the world. Russia is a major supplier. Any disruption in supply raises the price. Now, it also means that our wheat fetches higher price. Okay? So we do benefit somewhat from the higher wheat price. As a matter of fact, this year we are likely to export 7 million tons of wheat. That would be huge. Huge export of wheat. And if it is at higher prices, we benefit somewhat. But the flip side of this is that we are very much integrated with the rest of the world. If we look at 2021-22 international trade data, our goods exports will be around 410 billion USD. Services exports around 250 billion USD. So that's 660, and imports of goods and services will be around 700. So 1300 billion plus is our international trade, very integrated. So our wholesale inflation is tied to the global inflation. So US, there is very high global inflation. The gasoline price is what, $6-7 a gallon, very high. Food prices are high. Energy prices, other for heating, oil and all that are high. So our wholesale inflation is going to remain elevated. our retail inflation, which is more domestic, we can manage it better, around 5-6% range. So those are the adjustment. And then finally, we have to do some geopolitical nimble diplomacy because we abstained in the United Nations. There are people who understand, countries who understand, like Australia, Japan, in some parts of US government, why we did what we did. And we can continue cooperation with them. But there are other parts, nobody likes a rising power. We are a rising power. There are people who want to pull us down. We know from our news and even our parliamentary debates that some of those who don't want India to rise are within the country. And there are others that are abroad, and we now have a much more complex diplomatic environment than before because of this. Because now globalization, as we knew it before, is dead. We have a new, very complex issue by issue, other globalization, and the overarching aim for us, which is to reduce our and the global dependence on China and its supply chains and so on, that remains. And that has been made a little bit more difficult by this conflict. Okay? I hope you are satisfied with that answer.
Yes, sir. So, Aditi, now, since we have answered many questions, so can you just also summarize and ask the student if they have any other questions they can write in the course portal, so that in future we can take up those questions and we will answer. So I think, Aditi, the date of examination is 23rd of March.
27th.
27th of March. So they have few more days left. So if they have any question related to the running course or some of the presentations, they can ask the questions on the course portal. We will be able to answer. So can you just summarize what was your experience in last 3 months as a part of this course and as a TA? And you can also, we have to also thank Professor Mukula sir for joining this session with a very short notice. He is very much busy in various lectures online, delivering from Singapore to Indian institutions and institutions outside India.
So I think first and foremost, I should thank Professor Arshad. Thank you so much, sir, because your presence really benefited the students and to me as well, because I got to know a lot about, from a policy point of view. I'm myself working on infrastructure and energy and transport. So I am looking for this governance point of view and everything. It has enlightened my knowledge as well. And the students, I think your answers were so visionary. Your answers were so elucidating. You elucidated it in such a lucid manner with such vision and so much of knowledge that we have gained today. I always used to listen to you during some of the discussions. I used to join in webinars in IMPRI. So now interacting with you in front of you personally, it was a great experience. And I hope the students have benefited a lot. So thank you so much, sir. It's a great pleasure. And thank you very much for your time. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, one more point is Professor Ashar is again chairing a session on 29th on making India ready for manufacturing. Close to that topic, we are having a topic on making India more sound economy in terms of manufacturing. So any student who are interested to learn about how India is ready for manufacturing and what type of new challenges India is having. So I will be sharing that meeting link on the course portal well in advance, so you can also join. So our journey of infrastructure economics is not ending only with this course. In fact, we are starting this journey to learn about infrastructure economics and understanding Indian economy and India's move towards infrastructure is one of the milestone for the world economy also, because India is one of the biggest economy in terms of purchasing power parity in the world. So now you can go ahead, Aditi.
Yeah, for the students, I think they were mostly concerned about the policy questions. So if anybody has any question about the course or for the PPT, for the exam point of view, they can write on the discussion forum. That will be answered. And I hope the assignments, the PPT, or even the questions that were asked by the students on the forum were well answered. If you have literally any question, anything from PPT, from economic growth to social infrastructure, any query, you can definitely write on the discussion forum again. And my experience was, as far as I am concerned, I actually learned only. The questions were very interesting. People used to ask very intellectual questions. They were interested in the course, and I had a good interaction as well. So I hope I can continue that in future. And thank you to Dr. Nalin Bharti sir for giving me this opportunity, and the NPTEL team. Everything from discussing questions, making assignments, everything was very fruitful. I hope that was fruitful for the students as well. So that's it. That was a great experience. That's it, sir. Thank you. So you are mute.
So someone has, I think, asked about the question pattern or something. So we can take up such question. Anuj, you want to ask some question?
No, sir.
Yeah. So we can take up some of the questions related to pattern or something on our course portal later on. So thank you, Professor Asar, once again, and we'll meet sometime again on 29th.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Karthik, I hope the session is over now, so we are now going out from the meeting.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for
Thank you, Karthik. Thank you, everyone.
everyone.
Thank you.